On Christmas Day, 2021, I received an Xbox Series X and a copy of GTA 5 for the Xbox One. Despite getting both of these things for Christmas, it wouldn't be until March of this year where I finally installed the Xbox Series X, and I started playing GTA 5 for the first time since early 2018. And at first, it felt really nostalgic playing the game, but that would go away very quickly. I had not played the game in over 4 years. A lot could change in 4 years, and my perception of the game most definitely changed during those 4 years. Back then, GTA 5 was an occasional thing that I would get to play 2 or so times a year, which I imagine helped keep the game fresh for me. Now that I had the game to myself, I could play it whenever I wanted to, and I played it on a nearly daily basis, which I imagine made the game get very stale for me very quick. The whole expanded and enhanced situation also played a major part in changing how I viewed the game. In general though, the game just didn't feel fresh anymore. Every mission in the story mode just felt predictable. There was never a moment where I thought to myself, hey, I remember that scene, or, wow, I don't remember that scene happening. Every scene just felt predictable, and didn't have that nostalgic feeling that they should have. Actually, there's one scene that I legitimately didn't remember happening when I first played the game. After leaving his therapist, Michael walks outside, and sits on a bench. Franklin and Lamar walk past him, and Lamar asks Michael for directions. This is prior to Franklin properly meeting Michael later on in the game. This was the only part of the game that caught me by surprise when I first replayed it, as I had zero memory of this moment ever occurring, and it occurs all the way at the very beginning of the game. Aside from that, the rest of the game just felt really predictable. Obviously, it's natural that when you replay a game from the beginning, there will be moments that will feel familiar, and moments where you already expect a certain thing to happen, and it happens. But with GTA 5, it feels different. It feels stale. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I felt bored replaying GTA 5 again. The joy of being back in Los Santos for the first time in 4 years just wasn't there. In a way, it felt like I had never truly left the game. Another thing that doesn't help is that there are certain points where the game felt different compared to how it felt back in 2015. For example, in the beginning of the game, Franklin is the only playable protagonist. There's a mission you have to do with Franklin, where you have to sneak into Michael's house without getting caught, and you have to steal a car. But as it turns out, Michael is secretly inside of the car, and he tells you to crash the car into the car dealership that Franklin works at. If you don't do it, Michael shoots Franklin, and you fail the mission. Once you beat the mission though, you unlock Michael, and you can now play as him. Now, I get that 2015 was a long time ago, so it makes sense that my memory wouldn't be correct, but I swear this mission happens a little later on into the game. As it turns out though, it occurs very early on into the game. I'm pretty sure it's the 6th or 7th overall mission for the game, but I'm not sure. One thing I can say though, is that I got to this mission far sooner than I thought. Overall, the game just didn't have that special feel to me anymore. Unlike other games that have sentimental value to me, it feels like I could just abandon GTA 5 and remove it out of my life, and almost nothing would get affected. That should not be something that I should say about the game, but I genuinely felt that way when I played it. Eventually, I bought the Xbox One version of Minecraft, since I doubt that the Xbox 360 version is backwards compatible on the Xbox Series X, and once I played it, I rarely went back to GTA 5. Back then, if you asked me which game I liked more, I would have had a hard time answering that question. Nowadays though, the answer is extremely obvious. You might think it's a bit idiotic for me to compare Minecraft to GTA 5, but both games do have a good amount of similarities. They are both open world games that were both immensely popular during the same time. However, when it comes to the legacy that both games leave behind, the difference is night and day. Minecraft is over 10 years old, and it still feels fresh to play. It never gets old, and it always has that nostalgic feel that reminds you of better times every time you play it. In contrast, GTA 5 isn't even 10 years old, and it feels stale to play. Whatever nostalgia value this game once had, is now completely gone. It also helps that Minecraft gets this magical thing that GTA 5 has never gotten, and will most likely never get, called new content. Minecraft, to this day, gets new content added, to help keep the game fresh. Why can't GTA 5 get that? Why can't Rockstar give us DLC or whatever, that strengthens the storyline and keeps the game fresh? A common criticism I've heard about GTA 5 is that its storyline is not as good as previous GTA games, but I imagine that DLC could have helped make the storyline stronger. No. Instead we have to get a subscription service for GTA Online. Yeah, that's totally what we all wanted. And once again, I'm not 100% against the idea of porting GTA 5 onto 9th gen systems. I'm not against the idea of Rockstar refusing to move on from GTA 5, in favor of focusing on other projects. It's not necessarily a bad thing that they want to keep focusing on GTA 5. All they had to do was add new content into this version to justify them milking the game. It wouldn't be the first time a game franchise put a greater amount of focus on one specific installment compared to the rest of its series. This might seem like a stupid comparison at first, but hear me out. When it comes to GTA 5, Rockstar should have done what Square Enix is doing with Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy and GTA are actually more similar than you might think, in that each installment has its own storyline, its own set of characters, and its own setting. Most of the games are not connected to each other at all. You don't need to play Final Fantasy VI in order to understand Final Fantasy VII. You don't need to play Final Fantasy VII in order to understand Final Fantasy VIII. You don't need to play Final Fantasy VIII in order to understand Final Fantasy IX. You don't need to play Final Fantasy IX in order to understand Final Fantasy X, and so on. It's the same thing with GTA. You don't need to play GTA 3 in order to understand Vice City. You don't need to play Vice City in order to understand San Andreas. You don't need to play San Andreas in order to understand GTA 4. And you don't need to play GTA 4 in order to understand GTA 5. Now, there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of Final Fantasy games, but out of all of them, Final Fantasy VII is easily the most famous game in the series, and despite being over 25 years old, the game is still being kept alive by new content. You have spin-off games, you have movies, you have a remake that's apparently not actually a remake because the storyline has a lot of differences from the original game. Not sure what's up with that, but I don't care, it still counts. Final Fantasy VII, at this point, is essentially its own separate thing from the rest of the Final Fantasy franchise. Rockstar could have easily done the same thing with GTA 5, but they chose not to. We could have gotten DLC that expands the world of GTA 5. One thing that's always bothered me about GTA 5 is that there's another town in the game named North Yankton, and you only explore it in 2 or so missions. Even then, the exploration is severely limited, because it's part of a mission. There's never a point in the game where you're able to freely roam around North Yankton. It really feels like wasted potential, as DLC that takes place in North Yankton could have brought something new to GTA. Instead of taking place in large cities, we would get a more rural area that has never been explored before in the series. The DLC could be a prequel to GTA 5, showcasing all of the events that lead up to the bank robbery that opens the proper game. You might think that this would be a bit too complex for DLC, but let me remind you all that GTA 4 had, not 1, but 2 DLC packs, that were essentially just 2 separate games, that also expanded the world of GTA 4. GTA 5 could have gotten something like that, but unfortunately, it never did. It's a shame, because DLC would have helped expand the storyline, and it would help enhance the overall experience playing GTA 5, if you get what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, we were at one point going to get single-player DLC for the game, but it was scrapped. While doing my research, I came across an article from around 2017, stating that the reason why GTA 5 never got single-player DLC was because Rockstar thought that there was no point in adding any more content into the story mode. They thought that the story mode was complete. Additionally, both GTA Online and the 8th gen versions of the game took up a lot of resources, and as such, Rockstar didn't feel that it was necessary to add single-player DLC into the game. You know what? As much as I hate to admit it, this is actually a fairly understandable explanation. Rockstar can't focus on these three things at the same time. Something had to be sacrificed, and it would end up being the single-player DLC. Now, even though this is a valid reason, it doesn't excuse how there are barely any differences in the 9th gen versions of the game. Yes, this article was written before those versions were even announced, but I don't care. It's still unacceptable. As I said before, the changes for this new version don't necessarily have to be related to the storyline. Little changes and additions to the map would have been enough to justify the existence of these 9th gen versions. Also, there was a fairly recent update for GTA Online that actually continues the original storyline, which would be a good thing if, it wasn't connected to GTA Online. Not to mention, I don't necessarily know how GTA Online updates work, but I think that this was a limited time thing, meaning that if you didn't play this update while it was happening, and GTA Online ever gets another update that further continues the storyline, you're pretty much screwed. The only way you could be able to catch up on the storyline is by watching a let's play of the update. Actually, I just realized something. This is the first GTA Online update that I know of that actually continues the original storyline of GTA 5, and it came out in December 2021. The original game was over 8 years old at that time, and we had gotten a lot of updates for GTA Online in the time between, almost none of which I imagine added anything to the original storyline. This was the first continuation we would get for GTA 5's storyline, and not only was it exclusive to GTA Online, but it was also released over 8 years after the original game came out, long after the game was truly relevant, when it should have come out no later than 2015. Wow, I feel like that says a lot about how Rockstar treats GTA 5. In addition, around the same time this update was released, Rockstar would release a complete dumpster fire of a game that ruined the legacies of the 3 games that made them famous, a game that rightfully got a ton of backlash from fans and critics alike. And yet, as soon as Rockstar released this update, most people immediately forgot about the game and started playing the update, all while praising Rockstar. Consumerism sucks. Consumerism really sucks. Anyways, DLC for the game would have been awesome, and it would have kept the game legitimately popular for a longer period of time. But alas, things can't always go the way that we want them to, and even with this update, it was already too late. The glory days of this game are long gone, and there's no chance they'll ever come back. Which brings me to my next topic. I played GTA 5 a lot during the first half of 2022, between March and May to be exact, and sometime between that time, I made a rather controversial realization about the game. Something that nobody wants to admit, even though it's true. Something that might seem blasphemous for me to say at first, but once you hear my explanation, you'll probably agree with me, or at least understand where I'm coming from. Here goes nothing. GTA 5 is not an iconic game. Actually, let me rephrase that, but with more detail. Grand Theft Auto 5, despite being part of one of the most famous video game franchises ever made, and despite being the second best-selling video game of all time, has made almost zero impact on video game history or pop culture. Again, I know you might think that this is a false statement, but think about it. When was the last time you ever saw anyone really talk about GTA 5? Not GTA Online. GTA 5, the story mode. If GTA 5 was an iconic game, how come I've never seen any discussion about the story mode on the internet? All I see is GTA Online and more GTA Online. If GTA 5 was an iconic game, how come I rarely, if ever, see people bring up Michael, Franklin, and Trevor when talking about iconic gaming protagonists? GTA 5 is a game that's just there, and nothing more. I feel like as the years went by, GTA 5 became less and less impactful to gaming history. The only reason why GTA 5 is the second best-selling video game of all time, and the only reason why it is still alive in the first place, is because of GTA Online. More specifically, all of the shark cards and microtransactions and all that other useless garbage. If GTA Online didn't exist, GTA 5 would probably still be in the top 10 best-selling video games, but it wouldn't be the second best-selling game. It wouldn't be in second place, behind a video game that's legitimately iconic, and has actually made an impact on both video game history and pop culture. I am being 100% serious when I say this, but I think that brief period of time between late 2020 and early 2021, where the Lamar roasts Franklin scene became a meme, was the first time that anyone really cared about GTA 5 in a very long time. Seriously, GTA 5 is a victim of what I like to call the Avatar effect. If you don't know what the Avatar effect is, let me explain what it is. The Avatar effect is when something makes a lot of money and becomes financially successful, but despite this, nobody really cares about it. Nobody talks about it whatsoever. It's just kinda there, and that's it. And it's a mystery how it made the amount of money it made. This effect is, of course, named after the 2009 movie, Avatar, which despite being the highest grossing movie of all time, has made almost zero impact on movie history or pop culture. And no, the fact that it's getting both a re-release and a sequel doesn't change the fact that the movie got complete radio silence from movie fans for over a decade. I'm not saying Avatar is a bad movie or anything like that either. I'm sure it's a good movie. I'm just surprised that the highest grossing movie of all time is a movie that barely anyone really cares about. It's especially baffling when you compare Avatar to other movies that have held the title of highest grossing movie, most of which have actually made an impact on both movie history and pop culture. Want another example of the Avatar effect? Frozen 2. The first Frozen is one of the biggest movies in recent years. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that. In 2014, you couldn't go a full day without hearing one of these two songs. Happy, by Pharrell Williams, and Let It Go. It was a dark time, and I'm glad nothing like that ever happened again. Oh wait, I almost forgot about this thing's Reign of Terror. At least we've gotten past that one as well. Anyways, Frozen was an extremely big movie, and logically, the inevitable sequel would also be an extremely big movie. Eventually, Frozen 2 would finally be released, and not only did it make a lot of money, it also made more money than the first Frozen, surpassing it as the highest grossing animated movie of all time. And yet, despite this, nobody really cares about Frozen 2. It just kinda exists, and that's it. To be honest, I sometimes forget that it even exists. When the movie was brand new, I did hear Into the Unknown from time to time, but that was it. None of the songs from the movie got really big, like the first movie's songs, which is a very good thing. Don't get me wrong. Actually, you know how I said Frozen 2 was the highest grossing animated movie? That's not actually true. The real highest grossing animated movie is the 2019 remake of The Lion King, another movie that I barely see people talk about, and another movie that I sometimes forget even exists. And if someone ever talks about this movie, it's always negative, and never positive. Despite the movie being a soulless cash grab though, it still made a lot of money, because, again, consumerism really sucks. You know, the fact that the two highest grossing animated movies of all time are both movies that nobody cares about, is honestly quite symbolic of how people generally dismiss animation as a stupid thing that's exclusively for kids, when it is so much more than that. But I might be reading too deep into this. I would list more examples of the Avatar effect, but I don't want to drag this out for too long, so let's get back on topic. You would think that after making such a financially successful game, Rockstar would, I don't know, do more interesting things with GTA 5. It's not just the scrapped story mode DLC either. Couldn't we have GTA 5 collaborate with other video games? Since it's such a big game, you might be asking, what kind of collaborations could Rockstar do with GTA 5? I don't know. Fortnite? Smash Bros? Literally anything? How do you make the second best-selling video game of all time, and then you just decide to do literally nothing interesting with it whatsoever? You know what? It's times like this, where I'm glad I have the comments disabled, because I know that I'll get a bunch of people calling me cringy for suggesting that GTA 5 should collaborate with Fortnite. Because clearly, having the GTA 5 trio appear in a video game that you pretend to hate is so much worse than GTA Plus, or the 9th gen versions of GTA 5. or any of the other useless garbage that we have gotten. Clearly, Fortnite is the worst possible thing that could happen to GTA 5. Give me a break. And just in case anyone gets the wrong idea, I cannot stress enough that GTA 5 is the only game in the series, or more specifically, the only one of the big 5 GTA games, that I would say is not legitimately iconic. The older GTA games are genuinely famous. They have iconic moments, iconic characters, and fantastic storylines. I often see people bring up Tommy Vercetti and Carl Johnson when talking about iconic gaming protagonists. One could argue that the reason why nobody talks about GTA 5's story mode is because there's nothing new to talk about. Again, it's not like Rockstar has given us anything new with the storyline. Even with that one update, it was far too late. And for all we know, it'll probably be the only GTA Online update to actually continue the original storyline. Aside from that, nothing about the storyline has changed. It's the exact same storyline we've had since 2013. There's no point in talking about it, because there's nothing new to talk about, which would be a fair point, except that I still see people talk about the storylines for previous GTA games, especially San Andreas and GTA 4. I still see people from time to time talk about all the classic moments that the older GTA games had, whereas with GTA 5, the only classic moment that I see anyone talk about is, again, the Lamar roasts Franklin scene. I'm sorry, but GTA 5 does not deserve to be the second best-selling video game of all time. I can think of 100 video games that deserve that status more than GTA 5. The only kind of legacy GTA 5 will leave behind is that it played a crucial part in turning Rockstar Games into who they are today. A greedy shell of their former selves that treat their own fans like garbage. Even if GTA 5 didn't mean to change Rockstar for the worse, the damage it has done to Rockstar cannot be denied, whether it was done intentionally or unintentionally. Grand Theft Auto 5 is the avatar of video games, and when I say that, I really wish I was referring to the Nickelodeon cartoon. I know that this might come off as me hating the game, but that couldn't be further away from the truth. I love GTA 5, but it's really old, and I just want Rockstar to give us something new, or at least add something new to GTA 5 to keep the game fresh. Going back to my Minecraft GTA 5 comparison, I play Minecraft on a nearly daily basis, and it never gets old. It never gets boring. I play GTA 5 for 20 minutes, and already I feel bored and burnt out playing the game. It's just not fun anymore, even after a 4-year hiatus. Anyways, that's about it. The rise and fall of Grand Theft Auto 5, a masterpiece with a bright future ahead, has now become a dead horse that nobody really cares about. Watching old midnight release videos from when the game was brand new makes me sad. Looking at all of the people excited for the game, not knowing how it will turn out in the future. There's only one thing that I can think of when I watch these videos. Where did it all go wrong? The game had a promising future, and now, it has become nothing more than a joke. Scrapped story mode DLC, 9th gen ports that nobody asked for, and have almost no differences from the 8th gen versions, a subscription service to the online mode that, again, nobody asked for, a continuation of the storyline that came way too late, no collaborations with any big video game. Honestly, what even is GTA 5? What is its legacy? How does a game manage to be both famous and not famous at the same time? The world may never know. Apparently, Rockstar has recently updated their website to include a large list of credits for the game, and a thank you message to those that contributed to the game, which people think means that the era of GTA 5 is almost over, and that Rockstar is finally ready to fully move on to GTA 6. I wouldn't get my hopes up about GTA 6 being good though, if I were you. I still have other Rockstar topics to tackle, but those will be done at a much later date. For now, I have to go and pay a visit to an old enemy of mine. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other content, and if you enjoy my other content, maybe consider subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.